What is up? Welcome back, everybody. It has been a while. We have been slow on the uploading, but here we are back again with Star Wars Special 2. We had one come out a few months ago, previewing everything that was going to happen in 2023. Well, now we've got some 2023 out of the way. We've been slacking on the videos. I know we had the F1 a couple months ago, and then we had the March Madness bracket last month. That was the last thing we uploaded. It's been about a month now. But I promise that is ending here. We've got stuff on the way. We got a big interview with a surprise guest coming up. We've got this Star Wars special today. I'm going to be doing some playoff content. We got the NFL draft. We got stuff. The hiatus is over. Took a break so we could come back and be even better. But with that being said, I know we halted really abruptly. We didn't quite get to finish Mando recap. We didn't get to start Mando recaps. We didn't get to finish Bad Batch recaps. But to make up for all that, I have brought in our CEO of Star Wars, our resident Star Wars expert, Jared Silverman. He is here to talk about Star Wars with me today. We didn't get Connor on, but we got our CEO here. That's what we need to talk about Star Wars going forward. Maybe we'll do another special closer to Ahsoka. Maybe when all this stuff ends and we get more news. Maybe after May 4th, we could figure out like a May 4th special and get Connor on, get all our Star Wars guys here. But for now, we've got me, we've got Jared, and let's talk some Star Wars for you. Let's get right into this. So here we are, April 20th, 2023, and two of the three big main headliners for Star Wars are out of the way. We've got a bunch of mini shows coming in, like we've got Visions, we've got some other stuff we're going to talk about. Obviously Jedi Survivor is yet to come out. I think it's any day now, right?
Coming up on that soon.
Yeah, yeah. So we're getting that soon. But the three main headliner shows we had Bad Batch season 2, Mando season 3, Ahsoka season 1. So that's what we had coming into this year. Two of those are now done. So if we figure what better time to come in to recap, because we've gotten a bunch of big news to go along with these two shows ending. But to get this episode started, Jared, I want to ask you. We left off around episode 12 of Bad Batch, but that season ending, like it was very, a lot of stuff happened after we kind of last met. So I want to get your thoughts. What did you think of the ending of Bad Batch? What does this change your outlook on the series as a whole? Does it change your outlook on this time period in Star Wars lore? Let me get your thoughts on how you think the end of that season went and what that means for you.
So I gotta say, first of all, thanks for having me on the pod again. I'm happy to be back.
Anytime.
And this season did not miss. I mean, everything about it, even the most tame episodes, like Pabu was pretty relaxed. Even
Hmm.
that was really interesting when the batch decided to just stick around for a while. You know, Usually when you have like the wandering group like this, they never settle down. They just keep going. But it was a nice change of pace to see the gang actually stick around, help out, rebuild and give Omega a nice environment to grow up in for a little while before, that was inevitably ripped away. But anyways, moving into episode 14, the tipping point, that was interesting. That was seriously crazy what they're doing with Crosshair after what happened with him and Commander Mayday and that Imperial officer that, I mean, had it coming, for being honest. But that was all great stuff. And then the two-part finale was blew me away, really. I mean, Bad Batch season 1 was pretty mediocre. Season 2 ramped up the stakes quite a bit, and I think we all appreciated that a lot, but nobody expected it to get to this. I mean, I was shocked. The revelation of Omega's sister was was pretty wild. I mean, I believe they referenced it in season 1, but it was still crazy to see like her be there, the experiments that they're doing, and I gotta say that one scientist guy is pretty freaking creepy. So
Hmm.
he's
Agree.
unnerving, and I think he's a good villain for the batch. And then everything, man, rest in peace, Tech. They
Do
really
you think
did
he,
that
so? You
well.
think he's really dead?
I hope so, because I mean, let's be real. One of my main problems with Star Wars is that they're having
Nobody
trouble
dies.
keeping
Oh,
keeping
we're gonna
everyone
talk
dead.
about
I mean,
this when
we'll
we
get
get
into
to
that.
Mando.
Yeah,
nobody dies. So I mean, like as much
Nobody
as I want
dies.
to believe, and it really it caught me by surprise that that they got rid of Tech like that. But
Hmm.
knowing Disney's version of Star Wars, can we really be sure that he's dead?
There are two options that I think we're going to get. Option one is the one that we're all hoping for. Tech had a meaningful sacrifice to the group, develops all the characters with him, and then everybody, I mean, it was a terrible loss, but hopefully, I mean, maybe Echo can come back and he can actually do shit now that Tech isn't just being the best out of all of them at everything. Um, and then the other option is that creepy scientist man, when he took Tech's goggles, he brought him into the experimentation chambers and just figured why tell the Bad Batch about it, you know? So hopefully we don't get that. Hopefully they commit to it.
It feels
I mean,
likely.
yeah, it was a good
I
loss.
mean, we
Like, it
know
was a
Star
good
Wars all
death.
too well at this point.
That's the sad thing, but hopefully they can
It's the
surprise
sad,
us with this one, you know?
right? You would hope.
And then other than that, I never thought I'd be like anticipating a third season of The Bad Batch this much. I really don't know what they're gonna do with it. I mean,
No, I
the
agree.
fact that
I'm here for it.
yeah, and the fact that they made it this season especially, it's less of a Bad Batch show. It's more of a what do the clones do show. It's the clones, the sequel, and I love it. It's amazing because this point in
Well,
Star
yeah, I
Wars,
feel like we're getting more of a broader view of how the
yeah,
stormtroopers came to of how the stormtroopers came, and I love it. I love that we're not focusing on the Bad Batch. I mean, we're giving them the attention they need and deserve because it is their show at the end of the day. But we're getting such a broader view of the specific policies that get put in place, what the what the intentions were behind getting the clones out, what the procedures were. Like we're getting such an in-depth view at this huge transition. I mean, going from clones to stormtroopers is a big deal in the Star Wars universe, and it signifies a significant change. So I love that we're getting such an in-depth look, and we're not just focusing on the Bad Batch like Disney Star Wars tends to do. We tend to present an important topic and then not look at it at all and look at something else. So I love that they're actually going through with it this time.
I also appreciate that a lot, especially because if you think about it, there's no reason to use stormtroopers over clones. Clones are just shown to be better in
Better,
every single regard.
except other than
But
the
then you
aging and
see,
the expensiveness,
yeah,
but that's it.
but then you see like the stigma around the clones, like they're seen as like tools. They're not seen as people.
Mm-hmm.
They're seen as
Yep.
like faulty products. I mean, the fact that they executed Order 66, people hold that against them.
Yeah,
So all these
exactly.
different factors coming together to show like why it happened and then the how it happened too. Both of which were, I think, extremely important questions for Star Wars fans to have answered. You know, this wasn't like a kind of mystery thing, like, oh, how did Maz Kanata get like Luke's lightsaber? No, this was like something that just didn't
Uh-huh.
make sense, almost a plot hole if
I'll
they didn't
never
address it.
understand that.
Yeah, but
I
I
really hope we
think
get that
they
addressed now that
answered
you
it.
mentioned that. I really hope we get a good
Yeah, me
cinematic
too.
answer to that question. Same thing with
Well,
Yoda.
the
At least
original.
with
No, go
Yoda's
ahead.
lightsaber and Grogu now, we did get an explanation on that kind of, but it's like same thing, like where did this come from?
With the original script of The Force Awakens, it would have made a little more sense because in that draft, Kylo Ren was actually a Force hunt or an artifact like of the Force hunter, and he was looking for like Luke Skywalker's severed hand or something insane like that, and that would have been nuts. That would have been sick.
I just don't get how it
Um,
logistically would have worked with the hand falling into the shaft and best spin and how that ever. I don't know. That's just I
yeah,
don't.
I mean,
Maybe
I'm
I would
sure
need
it
to like
just
see it
fell out of the
unfold
sky.
to really understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
but I mean, Bad Batch season two, man, that was fantastic. I loved it. You know, seeing the transition. It's such a not talked about part of Star Wars. You know, even with like the rise
Yes,
to the First
I
Order
like that
from
we're
the
really
Empire.
focusing on it.
Yeah, I think it's a great part of the story to hone in on for a little bit. I love what we're doing with like being in different timelines right now. I really like that.
Yeah,
I think that's
we're in
kind of
two
what Star
different.
Wars is extremely
We're in
good
the
at.
two most important, and we're in the two most important timelines right now. The transition from Empire to First Order, because we really don't know how the hell that came out. I mean, we thought Luke Skywalker, all powerful, had put the Empire away for good, but nope, they're back. And so we don't know how that happened, and we do know how this happened. Like we saw Order 66, we saw all this stuff, but we don't know specifically how that transition from clones to stormtroopers happened. We know everything else, but it's great that we're seeing two of the most intriguing and important timelines kind of unfold in front of us at the same time with significant meaning. Like we're now one of them has to happen for a good reason, one of them's happening for a bad reason. The whole reason we're getting connected to the First Order now is because we have to cover up for the mistakes and the stupid writing of the sequel trilogy, and we have to make it make sense. On the other hand, we're simply doing, good things over here with between episodes 3 and 4. But do you have anything else you want to add on Bad Batch before we move on?
No, that about does it. But I agree with everything you said about covering up, and I think it's also a way to kind of prime us for the upcoming Ray content that we're going to be getting. It's like, look,
Yeah, because I
we're
know
trying to
not
make
many
it
people
better.
are
Yeah,
super happy about it, so
yeah,
you got to make it make sense the best you can.
yeah. So hopefully they'll make that part of the timeline a little more interesting for everybody, so we can all really get into it when that
Yeah,
content comes.
hopefully. But with that being said, that about does it for our Bad Batch segment of this. Now I want to move into what's going to make up the brunt of this Star Wars special because, oh boy, was it big. Mando season 3 officially, what's the word? Officially closed out yesterday. Um, and I know we were texting yesterday, and now this is going to make up a big chunk of it. I want to hear, before I get into your overall thoughts on the season and the finale and all of that stuff. I know we texted about the ending to to the episode where it's Din on the farm or on the cabin, whatever you want to say, and Grogu playing with the frog, and then it's kind of a Looney Tunes esque ending, right, where the screen closes into the circle on Grogu's face, and then disappear. Um, so what I found out afterwards is that the reason that they did that style of ending going forward, John Favreau did not actually have the creative power that he would have liked on season 3. It's now going forward he has creative power for seasons 4, definitely season 4. We don't know how many it's going to be total, but definitely season 4. But he didn't actually have creative full creative jurisdiction here. A lot of it went to the executive producer. I think his name is Charles Wilson, I believe, and he made a lot of the choices. And they forced it. He had a different ending in mind, which I don't think you would have liked as much, but it kind of fits what I was looking for more. But the ending that we got it because they didn't know if there was going to be a season 4. Disney kind of ordered from the top to end it like this because they didn't know if they were gonna, greenlight more seasons. They said, this could be the last season, season 3, and if we're gonna cancel it, we need it to go out on a good ending, so we don't, piss people off with a cliffhanger. So they kind of forced him to scrap his idea, settle for this ending where it closes out, on not really a cliffhanger. It's kind of a closed book. I just want to get your thoughts on that. If you like that planning from the top, if you disagree and you think it should have been done somewhere else. But yeah, the
I definitely don't
conservative
disagree with
planning, the
it.
conservative writing due to the no, you don't. You think that they could have capped it off and we don't need any more Mando. Season 3 could have been done.
I absolutely would have appreciated it, but I mean, with the way everything ended, and I have thoughts, I have a couple of theories here that I'm thinking of, but with the way taking everything at
Hmm.
face value, the way it
Yeah, go
was,
for it.
I think it was a good ending. I mean, we still know that they're technically going to lose anyways because the First Order does rise to power. But I mean,
That's true.
in the
That's very true.
meantime,
But we don't know if
yeah,
but we don't know that because their battles against Thrawn, not the First Order. So they could still very
right,
well win against Thrawn, and he could have been a distraction. So fight Thrawn while the First Order rises. I feel like that may be what we're getting. So we don't know that they're gonna lose. Technically, we do
right,
know they'll lose in the end, but not in the battle that Filoni is presenting us with.
yeah. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to play it safe with the ending. They can
Hmm.
always pick it up wherever they want. Um, and that's something I appreciate too, because I mean, with some of my favorite shows like Daredevil never got the ending that anybody would have wanted before it was canceled. So at least they're trying to give some kind of resolution if they do end up ending The Mandalorian at season 3. Hopefully they don't, because I
Well, we're not
mean,
now. We got season 4 confirmed. This was at the time of filming and writing.
right. Well, I mean, as it is, I don't dislike it. I mean, especially because The Mandalorian definitely didn't do as much as he did in seasons past. I mean, he
Hmm.
almost took a back seat, at least shared the driver's seat with Bo-Katan this season, and I have no problem with that because Bo-Katan and Katie Sackhoff are fucking sick. So,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if going forward Bo-Katan takes the main stage and starts doing the most things for the plot while like Din Djarin just kind of finds something else to do, I wouldn't be mad about that, you know? Because this has turned less into The Mandalorian and The Mandalorians. You know, it's about
I
them
think
as
that's
a
what they
whole
want,
and
though. I think
their
that was the
families.
show that we're
Yeah,
looking for, is the Mandalorians with Din as the main character.
yeah. But I mean, this season was kind of a letdown, so hopefully season 4 or 5 or wherever they decide to end it goes out on
Yeah.
a higher note than this.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think where we disagree, I agree with the last point you made. Where we disagree is the Din taking the back seat part. I think that's what most fans were upset at, and it's what John himself was upset at. I'm all for Bo-Katan being here. I actually love her, but I don't think her arc is going to be going forward. I think she was season three. She'll probably be a first half of season four. But the way it ended, I think, with Din making that contract with the New Republic, I think now we're gonna shift back to him because he's not really with the Mandalorians anymore. He's got an apprentice now. Bo-Katan is gonna go do her thing. Din is gonna now do his thing with the New Republic and hunting out the remaining Imperial remnants. We know there's about 5 or 6 left, other than Moff Gideon, and we're gonna get to Gideon in a second because I do have some stuff I want to talk to you about with that. But so now I think we're gonna get back to Din. I think we're gonna get a lot more Grogu. I think season four is gonna be huge for his development. We saw at the end he tapped into force powers that he did not previously have. So I think we're gonna get good there. And I'm right there with you. I was disappointed overall. I think 7 and 8 were great. The video I was watching this morning, an interview that John Favreau did. This season was supposed to have 12 episodes, but like I just said, he didn't have the creative jurisdiction that he wanted. Disney said no. We're gonna stick to 8 because we don't want fans getting bored. So we're gonna stick to 8 episodes, and that's why we ended up getting a lot of fillers. Why we ended up not getting a lot of the content that John himself wanted to put in, and it's why a lot of fans, just like me and you, are walking away kind of disappointed. We got an okay finale. It was certainly solid. No one's gonna say it was bad, but we had 6 episodes of meaning. Like, what was the point of the Lizzo episode? We don't know. Did we really need the 45-50 minute cut of Pershing in episode 3? Did we really need all that? It's just, did we really need? I guess we kind of needed saving Paz Vizsla's kid, but like not really. Like there's like 3 to 4 episodes you can pinpoint throughout the season where it's like what was the point? And and a 12 episode format would have been much better because it's okay to have filler here or there when you have 12 episodes, but it's not what we were looking for when we waited 2 years to get this. We didn't even know if we were going to get it. Then we waited 2 years, and then you only give us 8 episodes, and it's not like they're long 8 episodes. Most of these are 40 minutes long. So it's like that's why people are kind of walking away with a sour taste in their mouth. Thankfully, Dave Filoni had full creative jurisdiction over Ahsoka, and we have that to look forward to. And we did get a season 4 greenlit with John in control. But like, what are your thoughts on that of the 8 episodes? We kind of got filler, um, and whatever you didn't previously know that I just kind of told you about. I want to hear what you think. But there's just a lot that I feel like they could have done better.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think the 8 episodes that they had, I mean, from going from 12 to 8, you would think that they would make that like dense with important content that's necessary for this story. But what we ended up getting
Right.
was, in my opinion, one of the weaker episodes, ending with the saving of Paz Vizsla's kid. I mean, it was cool.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong; it was fun to watch. It just had no
But
bearing on
just
the
wasn't needed
story.
when you only have 8 episodes to work with.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Now, where we do differ in opinion is I liked the Pershing
Mhm.
episode. I mean, it was
Okay.
a huge ramp down in like the building momentum of the story. Um,
Right. Right.
minimum story this season, but um, I thought it was important because especially seeing that one lady end up later in the season talking to the captain of the squadron. So
Yeah.
seeing that entire episode of her manipulating that guy and rooting him out and assumedly doing the same to others and just rooting out people trying to do good from the New Republic. It was interesting for sure. I definitely didn't think that's where it was going. And then I thought Pershing was just going to be like on his own thing, separate from the New Republic afterwards, but not
Mhm.
at all. No, that man is locked up. And then seeing that one lady come back later to manipulate the New Republic again, you start to see things like that, and I think those are going to come back in later seasons. And
Yeah, I
even if
think we'll
they
definitely
don't,
get a reminder.
yeah, even if they don't, you know, it's certainly cool to know that that's what's happening in the New Republic. Whether it's certainly upsetting. I don't like to see it, but knowing that's what's going on and that's why some of the things happened the way they did, and most likely a factor in how the First Order came to power, which is something that I'm really interested in.
Yeah, me
You know,
too. Me too.
I think that's not bad. What I do think is kind of bad is how they could have made episode one an hour long, combined episodes one and two, and then had an extra episode to do anything else. I think
Just
episodes one and two,
build on the finale.
yeah,
Elaborate more on the lead up to taking Mandalore. I mean, I don't know. You tease Bo-Katan and the Mythosaur, and then we're gonna get into this after we're done with this part, but with something else in the Mythosaur. But now it doesn't even seem like Bo-Katan is gonna have any relevance with the Mythosaur. Then you give her the dark saber, then at the end she loses the dark saber, so it's like you're setting up for Bo-Katan to be the ruler of Mandalore, but you're giving her nothing to work with that has any significant meaning to the Mandalorians. What we know is that Mandalorians value the dark saber, they value the Mythosaur, and we'll talk about the Mythosaur part in a second. But you just took the dark saber away, and now it looks like you're taking the Mythosaur away. So how are you going to build Bo-Katan's arc if you're taking away the two things that are going to make her a meaningful ruler to Mandalore? I don't. That's what baffles me a little bit. Is it just going to be an honor code where it's like you already won it over, so you already won our respect, so you don't need any of that stuff? I don't know where they're going with that. I was really surprised by that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. I mean, I think the Mythosaur is still there. They're living pretty much with it.
No, I think it's there.
So
I don't think it's going to Bo-Katan now. We're gonna touch on that, but I don't think Bo-Katan is gonna be the one to interact with the Mythosaur.
we'll see. I mean, there's no reason to think otherwise, but
No, there is. I'm gonna tell
I'm
you in a
sure.
second, but I think there
All
is a
right,
reason.
I'm sure they have plans with it. That was one of the only really cliffhangery aspects to the ending.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
for sure.
I'm sure they have something planned with it. Seeing its eye open up, that could be like a metaphor for Mandalore finally awakening again, something like that.
Uh huh.
It'll definitely come
True,
back. I don't
true.
think they're done with that. What I do think should have happened though is I think Din Djarin's redemption in the Living Waters should have been saved for the finale. I don't understand why they
Oh, okay. You
like.
think so?
I think the entire season could have been revolved around him being an apostate, and the only person this would give something for Bo to do. Um, him being an apostate, not being able to rally the Mandalorians, so he has to get Bo, who would assumedly earn the dark saber, and then unite both clans, then go to Mandalore,
Okay,
retake it. Din Djarin finally gets to bathe in the living waters, and is no longer an apostate.
that's interesting. That's interesting.
hmm Additionally, I think this is kind of funny with the extremists and Axe Wolves like crew living together now on Mandalore. I'm really curious to
Hmm.
see how their cultures are going to mesh, considering they're both of
Yeah, me too. Me too.
extremely different ideologies. So maybe we'll see like some people abandoning like the extremist ideas and going more
I
towards
feel like they're
Axe
just gonna have
Wolves'
them
clan.
coexist.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna
And
coexist,
they're
of
not gonna really
course.
touch on that story. No, I mean, like, I don't think they're gonna have any significant ideologies class. I think it's just gonna be these people have their helmets on, these don't, and we just kind of leave it at that. I don't think that's a storyline that they're gonna, uh, what's it called, build on.
It's definitely interesting to think about, though, because I'm sure there's going to be some
Yeah,
people
yeah,
who
for sure.
abandon like the religious extremism, take off their helmets. Um, but like even the armorer doesn't denounce Bo-Katan and Axe Wolves' like group and ideologies. You know, she just
Yeah,
she's like, oh, okay, I guess you guys do that. You know,
yeah,
so maybe some
exactly.
clash there would have been interesting too. Um, all we really got was that fight with Paz and Axe, which was kind of cool. But I feel like when you have two groups of people so different, even when they're fighting for something similar, there's going to be some kind of clash.
Yeah, I agree. So, with that being said, two more things I want to talk to you about before we move on to Ahsoka, and then we'll kind of wrap up there. First, Grogu, and this is what I was going to talk about with the Mythosaur. I know you're not particularly a fan of Grogu. I think this season is kind of redeeming that. Like the aim of that was kind of to redeem what fans thought. They thought we don't need Grogu anymore. You should have cut him out. I think what they're doing right now is they're going to rewrite his importance basically, and I love it. I personally love Grogu. I think he's going to be super important going forward. And before I get into the other stuff, what we were just talking about with the Mythosaur. So if you remember that end shot, before we get the last shot on Mandalore, it turns to Grogu and he does his little force thing. He gives off a little burst of energy, kind of. Then from there, that's when we pan down to the Mythosaur awakening. After Grogu does that. We know he was just appointed Din's apprentice. He's now Din Grogu. So, the Mandalorian Jedi has been thrown around a lot. Is he now going to become this Mandalorian Jedi? Extremely powerful Force wielder because I personally believe he's Yoda's son. I know multiple other people believe that also. So you have this extremely powerful Force wielding being who's part Jedi, part Mandalorian, and now is going to harness the power of the Mythosaur, in my prediction, because I think the Mythosaur was awakened again by his presence, by his forceful nature. Not necessarily. Bo had to dive down to him and, swim right past him for him to acknowledge her. Grogu just had to let out a little, what do you call it, like a coo or a babble, that babies do. And the Mythosaur acknowledged it. I think we're going to possibly see Grogu using his beast taming powers like he used on the Rancor to now tame the Mythosaur and combine that with his Mandalorian Jedi powers, and we're going to see him become an extremely important character to the next 800, 900 years of Star Wars. Because that connects into the next thing I was going to say. Oh, let me hear your thoughts on that first, and then I'll connect it to my second thought.
I would have liked it if they kept Grogu out of the story, at least for a while. I just think it was
Hmm.
pointless to remove him from the story just to immediately double back, not even in the Mandalorian, and
I
just
don't
say, "Oh,
think they should
never
have
mind."
removed them in the first place, is the argument that I'll
If they
always
didn't
make.
remove him, then I would have been okay with it. Honestly, I would have be
Hmm.
100% okay with Grogu being there if they
Exactly.
just didn't get rid of him to begin with. But that being said, what they are doing with him is really, really cool. I don't know about the IG mech suit thing. That was a little ridiculous,
That was
especially
just kind of
because
funny. I liked it personally.
it was kind
It
of
got a
funny.
laugh out of me.
But I mean, he just got shredded like immediately, and then just went back to using the Force.
But
But
I think
it
he
was
had to
cute
get
for a
shredded
minute.
to use his powers.
Yeah. So he
It was
definitely got a
cute though. You're
power
right.
boost this season. That was pretty sick. Probably a result of Luke's training with him,
Hmm.
uh, and then him just cultivating that on his own. But going forward, since he's down for the count, he's not trying to get rid of Grogu anymore. You know, I'm here for it, and I like it, and I want them to do some sick shit with it because I don't know how
I think
Din's
he's
gonna
gonna get
train
some
him.
sick shit with the Mythosaur.
Yeah, I don't know how Din is gonna train him. I mean, obviously as a Mandalorian, but I mean, he's tiny and not like physically capable, but force capable,
Well,
absolutely.
I'm
So
sure they'll grow eventually. He'll grow into Yoda's
yeah,
body.
but until then, I mean, I'm just curious. That's all I am. Because I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, he tried
Yeah,
getting him to a Jedi to train him, and Grogu rejected that because he wanted Din. But now that he's a part of his clan, and now that they're like official, like father and son, apprentice and master, I'm very curious what's gonna happen.
yeah. So and that kind of ties into my second thought. We now have this movie announced. Daisy Ridley rebuilding the Jedi Order, 20, 30 years after what's it called? 20, 30 years after Episode 9, which would make it about 50 or so years, 50, 60 years after where we are now with Mando, and that would put Grogu at about 100 or so, maybe 90s, maybe the 90s, depending where the exact years are when they plan everything out. What we know is that this species, Yoda species, tends to live to about 900, 950. Yoda himself said he was training Jedi since 100. So what I feel like they're kind of doing here is and note just before I say this, just because Baby Yoda or Grogu and and Din are not in the sequels does not mean they are dead at this time by any means. They are on their own, doing their own thing, far away from the New Republic and the Empire if they need to be. Like, they're not tied to a side. So they could very well live through this and just not have fought. Um, but also, the same way Yoda lives for 900 years, we expect Grogu to do the same. What my prediction is that they're using Grogu as a tie-in character from one era to the next. You have Yoda who did the last 900 years of Jedi, and now Grogu's gonna do the next 800, 900 years of the Jedi, and he's gonna carry it on. He's an extremely powerful being. We know how this species is, especially if he's a Mando Jedi and he can ride the Mythosaur. This makes him extremely powerful being. He's gonna be fully developed by this time. I feel like we can expect to see it Rey along with an extremely powerful Grogu, um, spearheading the next, future of Star Wars, because it's hard for the fans. You cannot just start a whole new era with all new characters and give us no tie-ins to the past. It's one thing if you're doing the Old Republic because it's the past and we already know what comes next, and we're all looking forward to it because the past has already been created. We have Old Republic games, we have, comics, we have all this stuff. But you're in uncharted territory right now, ahead of Episode 9, and I think the fans need at least one person to go with them through this journey. And I think that's what they're going to use Grogu for going forward. I think it's going to be an extremely powerful Mandalorian Jedi teaming up with Rey to create a new Jedi Order, and he's going to end up being the Grand Master because he'll have 800 years ahead of them by the time Rey is done setting up that order. What
I
do you think
agree.
about that?
I absolutely love the sound of that.
Yeah,
You know, I don't think
I
anybody
thought.
really
I mean, I'm
focuses the
getting.
sequels all that
This is
much.
from watching different YouTube videos and reading different things, but Um, maybe it's a little bit of wishful thinking because I just want them to make the most of a crappy situation. But I would absolutely love it if they did that. It would be very redeeming for me.
I absolutely agree. I
So, if you
mean,
have any
The
more
Force
thoughts on
Awakens.
Mando, actually, I do. Yeah, do you have any more thoughts on that? I have one more Mando thing, but I want to touch on, but that's quick, and then we'll finish off with Ahsoka
No,
and
no
we
more
can go
thoughts on
special
Mando,
stuff.
really. But after everything you just said, I absolutely agree. I mean, I think The Force Awakens was inoffensive enough, despite being like a reskin of A New Hope. Um,
Exactly.
the other two, though,
Literally,
pretty freaking. There was something. I'm not gonna. I'm not
they
gonna
were
get onto the
definitely
sequel hate right now.
pieces of film.
They were movies. I can't confirm that.
Yeah, they were
So
movies. Yep.
yeah, I mean, I don't really have a problem with Rey as a character. I just feel like they were all equally underutilized and victims of bad writing.
They just made her too
You know,
powerful
Daisy
too
Ridley,
fast. In my opinion.
yeah, and then also introduced some BS to go along with it, like the Force healing, and then like her and Kylo Ren pretty much like
We can
swapping lives. That was ridiculous.
we can be pissed about the sequel some other time. I
Yeah,
don't want
I
to get
completely
started on
agree,
that whole
but
mess because we can go for hours.
yeah, we'll make we'll make the podcast like we'll have to do a
Exactly.
multi-part series. But I like where it's going and what's happening. Because if Grogu does end up tying into this new era, I think that would be fantastic. Because Daisy Ridley is a good
Hmm.
actress; she can definitely do a good job in this movie, and I just think having Grogu there would make the fans happy. You know, I think that's something that everybody can unite on,
Yeah,
and
agreed.
Star Wars
One
fans need
last
that.
quick question before we move on. Yeah, one more quick question. Moff Gideon. I'm seeing a lot. He has the clone tank. Um, feels like Din destroyed those clones a little too easy. And then I know I saw something in a video this morning about how Moff Gideon had a mustache, and then in the fight he didn't have a mustache. So now it's being rumored that Moff escaped and he had a clone fight Din. Um, we were just complaining nobody ever dies in Star Wars. This would be a pretty annoying if he appears in season 4 after they've gotten rid of him for the third time. What do you think? Do you think he was a clone? Do you think that theory has any truth to it, or do you think they killed him? The mustache thing was just crappy CGI or whatever, and we can move on from Moff Gideon. And then
I
the clone suit
absolutely,
was just bad writing.
yeah. You know, the thing is, it's a storytelling thing. You know, Chekhov's gun. If you have a
Hmm.
gun mounted on the wall, the gun has to go off. I think the gun in this case is Moff Gideon's clones. I think putting them in there just for them to be immediately popped I don't think that's gonna happen. I think, unfortunately, nobody dies in Star Wars. Moff Gideon's alive, so that's tragic because it's
Yeah,
okay to
it's
move
it's
on,
frustrating. I didn't even
guys.
think of that until this morning, and now I'm pissed.
Yeah. So if they end up going down that route, which I assume they will, because they've given me no reason to think otherwise,
I'm sure
I'll
they
be
will.
disappointed, but yeah, I'll be disappointed, but at the very least, this is where the story was going from the start, and you can tell that too,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
So at
That's
least
fair.
it's not like some ass pull, some last minute Naruto ship it in bad writing. It's just something that
Hmm.
is a little jarring, to have this guy
Yeah,
just
exactly.
keep getting
Agreed.
foiled and then say, "Oh, but I lived." So hopefully,
I much agree.
if he is in season 4, that'll put an end to it, and we can move past it. And then season 5, if they decide to do a season 5, if
Yeah.
season 4 is the ending, and Moff Gideon is like 100,000%, put him in a meat grinder dead, you know, that'll be cool. But if they go forward with it, I'd like to see them
So,
move on. You know, there's definitely other territory to
yeah, me
chart.
too. Me
There are
too.
new, interesting villains that could or could not be Imperial related. You know, I'm here for all types of
I didn't even mind the
experimentation.
whole escaping prison thing this season. I just thought that this should be
Yeah,
it. I didn't mind that he was still out there after. I mean, escaping prison is reasonable for what it's worth, but like now it should be done.
yeah, and I also think the escaping prison thing doubles down even more on the corruption in the new empire, which is something that
Mm,
we've seen a
yeah,
pretty good deal of this season, and I think makes for
agreed.
pretty good content. With Pershing getting busted, and then the Navarro incident where they couldn't get help from the New Republic just because of some like lazy
Yeah,
politics that nobody wanted to stick up for, and now Moff Gideon escaping prison. You know, it's all going to show. It's almost like the Jedi Council, showing the
yeah,
flaws of the Order, and almost like, yeah, you guys kind of had that coming once they got taken over.
yeah. We've got about 17 or so minutes left here on this recording that's available. So I do want to get your thoughts on Ahsoka real quick, and just if you saw the trailer, what do you think? What are your predictions for that? And then we'll do your little segment, and then we'll wrap up here. So give me your initial thoughts on Ahsoka. What are your predictions? What are your thoughts on the trailer? What do you think? What are you looking forward to here? What are you not looking forward to?
So, Rebels season 5, man. I'm
Yeah,
pretty excited for it. I think
me too.
Rosario Dawson does a great job as Ahsoka. Mary
Agreed.
Elizabeth,
100% agreed.
marry me. Um, they've got some pretty cool actors going for the cast here, and I think seeing Rebels characters in live action during this time too, after they've done the rebelling, and now they've got like
Ezra
almost a
Bridger
freedom,
finally being
but not
shown in live
really.
action.
Yeah, that's exciting. So maybe even he'll,
Me too.
if
I'm
he's
like
around
really
during
looking forward
the,
to that.
yeah, if he's around during the sequels, maybe him,
Well, the
Grogu,
thing was is that
Ray.
he was supposed to be in the Rise of Skywalker, and they cut him out. So, and in a deleted
Really,
scene out there somewhere is Ezra Bridger in the Rise of Skywalker.
I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But I mean, everything with the I don't even know what to call them, Dark Jedi. That is
Yeah, that's what they're
seriously
going by,
interesting.
Dark Jedi.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. I love seeing new perspectives of the Force. I mean, one of my favorites is
Me
Mace
too.
Windu, since he kind of leans into the dark side. He has his purple saber, which that's what it signifies. And I think, being in the light, dabbling in the dark, all that stuff. The Force is not just black and white, it's a whole spectrum, and I want to see
Well,
every
this feels
single
like the
piece of that
opposite.
spectrum.
Yeah, this feels like the
Yeah.
dark dabbling
No,
in the
I
light because you have an orange saber instead of a red. So it feels like you got a little bit of light in you still. Because they basically came out and said that these are Order 66 survivors. So they're Jedi that kind of are not Sith, but dark Jedi now, and they dabble in the light, so therefore they got an orange saber.
I agree. I just wanted to use Mace as the example
Mhm.
here. But I
Yeah, yeah,
think
no, it is a good.
like
It's the right example. You're right.
yeah, I think with what we know now, I mean, struggling with the light, you've seen Jedi struggle with the dark. I mean, Anakin is
Yeah,
the poster child for that. Quinlan Voss,
Dooku.
you have characters like that, Dooku especially. But struggling with the light, trying to
Hmm.
be better, that's interesting as well. And hopefully we see some of that, because I
Yeah,
don't think it was done all too well with Riva in Kenobi. That had a kind of abrupt ending to it.
let's not
So
go there.
hopefully, um, so hopefully we get. I mean, I'm sure we'll get something interesting with them at least.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
new, it's a new kind of character, and I'm excited for it. New perspective of
yeah.
the
And
Force.
we'll probably do more Ahsoka breakdown videos as the official trailers come out and stuff. So I'm sure we'll re-meet there. But just because we're running out of time here, why don't you get into your last special segment for our niche audience here, and then we'll wrap everything up.
Yeah. So for all the niche Lego Star Wars fans in the audience, we know you're out there. We hear you. I'm going to be doing a breakdown of the 2023 Lego sets that we have rumored, as well as what we've gotten so far. So starting out with what we've already gotten this year, a kind of a surprise to me, we got a 501st Specialist Battle Pack coming with two Heavy Troopers, one Scout Specialist, and a Officer figure. For $20, I mean, it comes with like a small little mounted turret. Nobody really cares about that. We're all here for the figs. So with what we've got there, that was fantastic. I picked up two myself. I'm probably going to get a third one just to keep sealed, and I'm extremely excited. You know, Star Wars Lego over there is listening to the Star Wars fans. They know that we want clones, and I'll get more into that later with some of the other sets that we have and some of the other sets that we have rumored. But this is a step in the right direction. You know, $20 is still a hard pill to swallow, especially going from 10 to 15. The gradual increase hasn't been kind to us, but I mean, at least we're getting exactly what we want. Moving on to the TIE Bomber, another set that I personally picked up. This set really shocked me. I mean, it has such a clean design, and I think they released it at the right time too, right before Mandalorian, where the TIE Bomber, I think, makes like one of its first canon appearances, which is pretty exciting. Um, and then, that was for me a great way to get my arm printing Darth Vader, an excellent figure. The other two figures are fine, an officer and a TIE Bomber pilot, pretty standard figures to get. And then briefly, we also got the Tusken Raider Brickhead. Whatever, I'm not the biggest Brickhead guy. And then the Microfighter Slave one, a great way to get arm printing Boba Fett from the new era. Even though they still have the coloring issue, it's still, you can take it for what it's worth. I mean, that's like a 10, maybe $15 set. I don't exactly remember. Then we also got the three new helmet sets. I'm just going to get my least favorite one out of the way. The Princess Leia Bouche helmet from Return of the Jedi. It's mediocre, you know. It's the shaping is nice. I still think it's a little missized, but it does look pretty nice. And then the two sets that everybody's excited about, the Captain Rex helmet and the Commander Cody helmet. Captain Rex helmet, of course, being Phase 2, Commander Cody being Phase 1. Would it have been nice to be able to change out the phases, or not the phases, the colors for each one? Yes. But that being said, since we don't have it, we got to take what we got here. I still think they're fantastic. I prefer Cody a little bit. I like Rex more as a character, of course, but I mean, I just think Cody's shaping on the Phase 1 helmet is fantastic, especially like the contouring on the cheeks. Captain Rex still looks fantastic, don't get me wrong. I just think the tubing on the side looks a little bit choppy. Not for me entirely. Still picked it up though, so I'm extremely happy with that. We've also seen the Luke's X-Wing Starfighter, um, what's it, UCS set, which is extremely exciting, or it would have been if it didn't suck. Yeah, I don't like it. $240 for 2,000 pieces, overpriced. In addition to that, the detailing looks really, really weird. I just don't think the side panels for the main like shaft of the X-wing looks all that clean. I'm not really happy with it. I think they could have done better, but let's not dwell on that. For the future, we have some absolute bangers. Oh, there's also the May the 4th promo, the Executor Superstar Destroyer. I think that's fantastic. I would probably buy that on a set as its own. Um, we've got the Emperor's Throne diorama for $100 and only 800 pieces. It is a little overpriced, especially when you actually have it in hand. It's going to be about this long, probably about this tall. So that's a little disappointing, but am I still going to get it? Yeah. The new Luke hairpiece looks mediocre, but I mean, everything else looks fantastic. The shaping looks really cool, and it's an interesting scene that we don't really get too much of. We've only really had two other sets from the throne room, and they were pretty much identical, so this is new territory. Then we also have the Endor speeder chase. It's inoffensive, not as overpriced, but still, with what you're getting, $80 for 600 pieces. You could have gone cheaper, Lego. I mean, especially because this set compared to the throne room, you're getting even less. Two trees and a couple of speeder bikes. Not Lego's finest hour, if you ask me. Now talking about the rumored sets. This is where it gets exciting. Okay. Lego has heard our prayers, they've heard our answers, or they've answered us, and they're giving us exactly what we want. Hopefully, I might have just been duped on April Fool's here, but if this is true, we're getting a Republic Swamp Speeder, which is extremely overpriced, 108 pieces for $35. So I don't know what's happening there. I don't know if there was some kind of mistranslation, but you know, especially because it's going to be a clone set, and Lego knows that they can kind of shaft the fans as long as they put some clones in. But Lego Star Wars being overpriced isn't anything new. The big things that I'm looking forward to is, in order of excitement, we have the Republic gunship, overpriced. Still, it's going to be a minifig scale one, so it's not going to be as big as the UCS one we got a couple years ago. But it's going to have clone figures, exactly what we want. And, the last one was 2014, I believe, and that set sold like hotcakes. Everybody wanted one, and everybody's still going to want one. You know, um, the Ghost. They're bringing back the Ghost, I hope. For $170, 140 pieces. That's not a bad pill to swallow at all. We don't know the minifigs yet, but if they give us the whole crew, then absolutely $170. I'm completely fine with that. Now the big one for 100 or $650. Now this one majorly overpriced, 5,374 pieces. But what is it? The UCS Venator. So of course Lego's going to jack up those prices since they know how much, the fans, we've been begging for another Venator. The only one we've ever received was back during the Clone Wars. Everybody kind of praises that set. I think it's got its problems. The weird minifigure style of the Clone Wars characters that Lego decided to go with. The shaping of the Venator is a little too chunky for me, but for $650, they can absolutely make a flawless set. Those are all the big things that I really wanted to talk about for Lego Star Wars. Thanks for letting me cook on that part. We always got to show some love for the niche Lego Star Wars fans out there. We know you guys are out there. Trust us. We hear you. So that about does it for the Lego Star Wars section. I'll catch up with you, niche Lego Star Wars fans, next time.
Thank you, Jared, for a great Lego segment there to help out our niche our niche Lego fans here on the pod. That being said, that about does it for today. This has been a great Star Wars special number two. Jared, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, guys, the era of inconsistency uploading is over. We're back. Promise, we're getting started again. Hopefully, we can get a big pod soon. But we do have a lot of little short episodes, little mini specials here and there while we ramp up into getting episodes weekly again. But you've got content coming. Don't worry. That era of inconsistency is over. Thank you so much, Jared. This has been Star Wars Special 2, talking about Mando, Ahsoka, and the rest of 2023. And with that being said, peace out.